Jake overhears his wife plotting divorce for a richer life, unaware he's about to inherit millions. A shocking betrayal sparks a clever plan for justice in this gripping tale of loyalty, deception, and redemption. Jake Miller parked his beat-up Honda in the driveway of his Austin home, the engine sputtering as it shut off. The sky burned orange, casting long shadows across the quiet suburban street. A history teacher at Austin Heights High, Jake, 38, had stayed late grading papers, helping a struggling student, Maria, finally grasp the significance of the Emancipation Proclamation. Her grateful smile lingered in his mind as he grabbed his worn messenger bag and stepped out, the weight of a long day settling in his shoulders. As he approached the front door, keys jingling, a sharp voice cut through the evening air. Lauren, his wife of 10 years, was on the phone inside, her tones slicing like a blade. Jake froze, catching her words through the cracked kitchen window. "Mom, I'm done with him. I can't keep living off Jake's pathetic teacher's salary. I'm 35, and I deserve a real life, not this." Her mother's reply crackled over speakerphone, smug and approving. "Finally, Lauren, you've wasted enough time. Ethan says you're destined for more, doesn't he?" Jake's stomach twisted. Ethan Brooks, the slick restaurateur who'd been liking every one of Lauren's Instagram posts, sending her lavish bouquets for brand collabs. Jake crouched, gathering a few papers that slipped from his bag, his hands trembling. Lauren's voice grew sharper. "Ethan gets it. He's got ambition, vision. Jake's content, grading essays, and driving that junker. I've been planning this for months." Her mother laughed. "Smart girl. It's easier to love a man with money." The words landed like a punch. Jake straightened, his jaw tight, and slipped his key into the lock, turning it with deliberate force. The door creaked loudly, and Lauren's voice cut off mid-sentence. He stepped inside, setting his bag on the counter with a thud, his face a mask of calm. Lauren stood by the sink, hastily pocketing her phone, her eyes darting to the side. "Hey, babe," she said, forcing a smile, her fingers tapping nervously on the counter. "Long day at school?" "Same as always," Jake replied, washing his hands slowly, his voice steady despite the storm in his chest. "Maria nailed her essay today. Felt good to see her light up." Lauren nodded absently, scrolling through her tablet, avoiding his gaze. He dried his hands, watching her reflection in the window, her shoulders stiff, her lips pursed. "Lauren," he said, folding the towel, "we need to talk." Her fingers froze on the screen. "About what?" she asked, her tone sharp, defensive. Jake leaned against the counter, his eyes locking onto hers. "About us. Where this is going." A flicker of panic crossed her face, gone in an instant, replaced by a practiced smile. "Jake, you're overthinking. I'm just swamped with the blog. New collabs, big opportunities." She waved a hand, dismissing him. "You wouldn't get it." Jake's chest tightened, but he pressed on. "Try me. What kind of opportunities?" Lauren sighed, her eyes rolling slightly. "Networking, Jake. Building a brand. Ethan's helping me connect with people who matter." The name stung, confirming his suspicions. He took a step closer. "And what about our future? Our finances? Shouldn't we plan together?" Her face paled, her fingers gripping the tablet. "Everything's fine. Why stir things up?" He studied her, seeing the woman he'd loved for a decade, now a stranger plotting her escape. "I love you, Lauren," he said quietly, testing her. "Whatever's happening, we can fix it." She met his gaze, her expression softening, but her eyes held something new, pity. "I know you do, Jake," she whispered, then turned away, heading upstairs with a mumbled excuse about a headache. Alone in the dim kitchen, Jake sat at the table, staring at a photo from their honeymoon, a beach in Cancun, both of them laughing, carefree. That night, he didn't sleep. Instead, he opened his laptop and searched for divorce lawyers in Austin, his fingers hesitating over the keys. A memory surfaced, his estranged uncle, Samuel Whitmore, a reclusive oil tycoon who died 2 years ago. Jake had received a letter from Samuel's attorney, Clara Stein, outlining a $12 million trust accessible only to unmarried Whitmore heirs bearing the family name. Jake, who'd taken Lauren's last name, Miller, as a modern gesture when they married, had dismissed it then. Now it was a lifeline. The next morning, Lauren was gone before he woke, leaving a note. "Early yoga class. Let's talk tonight." Jake poured his coffee, the note's words echoing her phone call. He texted his friend Mike, a math teacher, confirming poker night for distraction. At school, he taught on autopilot, his mind replaying Lauren's betrayal. During lunch, he confided in Sarah, the school counselor, in her cluttered office. I overheard Lauren last night, he said, voice low. She's leaving me for Ethan Brooks. Thinks I'm holding her back. Sarah set down her coffee, her eyes narrowing. That's cold, Jake. What's your move? He leaned back, his resolve hardening. I'm giving her what she wants, a divorce. But I'm playing a bigger game. Sarah raised an eyebrow. You're too calm. What's the catch? Jake smirked faintly. Let's just say my family's got secrets she doesn't know about. After school, Jake drove to the county clerk's office, filing paperwork to restore his birth name, Whitmore. The clerk, a brisk woman named Ellen, raised an eyebrow. Changing your name during a marriage? That's rare. Jake shrugged. Not married for long. As he signed the forms, his phone buzzed. Clara Stein, the attorney. Jake, her voice was crisp. I heard you're reverting to Whitmore. Smart move. The trust conditions are strict. Unmarried. Whitmore name. You're close. Lauren's filing for divorce, Jake said, stepping outside into the humid Austin air. How soon can the trust activate? Clara's tone sharpened. Once the divorce is final and your name's legally changed. But heads up, your cousin Ryan Whitmore's sniffing around, claiming the trust name rule is unfair. He's got lawyers circling. Jake's grip tightened on the phone. Ryan, his ambitious cousin, had always resented Samuel's favoritism toward Jake. Let him try, Jake said. I'm not backing down. As he hung up, he glanced at the Austin skyline, the city humming with possibilities. Lauren thought she was trading up, but Jake was about to rewrite the rules of the game. Jake Miller sat at his kitchen table, the divorce papers from Lauren's lawyer, Greg Hammond, spread out before him. The documents demanded the house, the BMW, and half his retirement savings, but Jake's pen hovered over the signature line without hesitation. Lauren, expecting a fight, watched him from across the room, her arms crossed, her posture rigid. You're making this too easy, she said, her voice laced with suspicion. Jake signed the final page, sliding it toward her. I want this over quickly, he replied, his tone even, concealing the plan taking shape in his mind. At Austin Heights High the next day, Jake coached a debate team practice, his calm demeanor masking the storm within. His student, Maria, nailed a rebuttal, earning applause, and Jake flashed a proud smile, but his thoughts drifted to Clara Stein's warning about his cousin Ryan. After practice, he called Clara from his car. Ryan's hired Patterson and Klein, she said, her voice sharp over the phone. They're pushing to void the trust name clause, claiming it's discriminatory. Be ready for pressure. Jake gripped the steering wheel. What kind of pressure? Clara paused. Ryan's desperate. He's been living large, banking on that $12 million. Watch your back. That evening, Lauren breezed into the house with a glossy shopping bag from a high-end boutique, her phone buzzing with notifications. Big collab meeting tomorrow, she announced, avoiding Jake's gaze. Ethan's introducing me to investors. Jake nodded, pretending to grade papers. Sounds like you're moving fast, he said, probing. Lauren's eyes flickered with irritation. Someone has to. This blog's my ticket out. She left for her meeting, her perfume lingering like a taunt. Stuart. Jake waited until she was gone, then drove downtown to meet Clara at her office. Clara handed him a thick file on the Whitmore Trust. Your name change is processing, she said, her fingers tapping a pen. Once the divorce is final, the trust's yours, oil rights, real estate, stocks. But Ryan's team is digging into your past, looking for leverage. Jake leaned forward. Let them dig. I've got nothing to hide. Clara's eyes narrowed. Ryan's connected. I heard he's been cozying up to a judge, Patricia Lowe, who might hear his case. Stay sharp. The next morning, Jake found a note slipped under his windshield wiper at school. Back off the trust, or you'll regret it. His pulse quickened, but he pocketed the note without a word. At lunch, he confided in Sarah, the school counselor, in her office. Ryan's playing dirty, he said. Showed her the note. Sarah's jaw tightened. This is serious, Jake. You need protection. He nodded. Already dialing a private investigator, Marcus Reed, recommended by Clara. I need eyes on Ryan, Jake told Marcus. Find out what he's planning. That night, Lauren returned late, her phone glued to her hand, texting furiously. Jake caught Ethan's name on her screen before she flipped it over. Big plans? He asked, his voice casual but his eyes sharp. Lauren shrugged, distracted. Just business. Ethan's opening doors I never had. Jake let it slide, but the sting of her ambition fueled his resolve. He spent the evening researching Ryan's lawyers, discovering their reputation for bending rules. A text from Marcus confirmed Ryan had met with questionable figures at a downtown bar. By Friday, Jake attended poker night at Mike's place. The clink of chips and laughter a brief escape. Between hands, Mike leaned in. You okay, man? You're quiet. Jake forced a grin. Just navigating some family drama. Back home, he noticed Lauren's new jewelry, definitely not in their budget, gleaming as she packed a suitcase. I'm staying at a friend's for a bit, she said, her tone clipped. Makes things easier. Jake didn't argue, knowing her friend was Ethan. The following week, Jake visited the county clerk's office again, confirming his name change to Whitmore was nearly complete. Ellen, the clerk, handed him the paperwork. You're officially Jake Whitmore in 3 days, she said. He thanked her and stepped into the humid Austin air, his phone buzzing with a voicemail from Greg Hammond. Jake, we need to discuss your assets. Lauren's pushing for more. Call me. Jake deleted it, knowing the trust wasn't his to disclose yet. At school, a student's parent, a local cop named Tom Alvarez, pulled Jake aside after a conference. Heard about your car's tires, Tom said, frowning. That's no prank. You got enemies? Jake hesitated, then shared the note. Tom's eyes darkened. File a report. This smells like intimidation. Jake nodded, but instead of the local precinct, he called Marcus Reed again. I need proof of Ryan's moves, he said. Marcus reported back that night. Ryan's been meeting with a fixer known for rough tactics. I'm tailing him. As Jake drove home, his headlights caught a figure lingering near his driveway, vanishing into the shadows. His gut churned, but he kept his cool, parking and checking his surroundings before entering. Inside, he found a letter from Clara. The trust activation was imminent, but Ryan's team had filed an emergency motion to block it, citing undue influence in Samuel's will. Jake's jaw clenched. He texted Clara, push back hard. I'm not losing this. Her reply was instant. We're ready. Stay safe. Jake Whitmore woke to a text from Clara Stein. Name change finalized. Divorce decree signed. Trust activates today. Meet me at 2 p.m. His pulse raced as he read the words. The $12 million Whitmore trust now within reach. He dressed quickly, checking his phone for updates from Marcus Reed, his private investigator. Marcus had sent a grainy photo of Ryan Whitmore meeting a known fixer in a dimly lit parking lot. Jake forwarded it to Clara, his jaw tight with resolve. At Austin Heights High, Jake taught his morning class, guiding students through a discussion on the Bill of Rights, his calm voice belying the stakes of his day. During a break, he called Marcus. Anything new on Ryan? Jake asked, stepping into the empty faculty lounge. Marcus's voice was grim. He's escalating. My source says he's paid someone to scare you off. Expect trouble. Jake hung up, his mind racing, and texted Tom Alvarez, the cop parent, asking for advice on filing a formal report. Before leaving for Clara's office, Jake found his car's windshield cracked, a brick lying nearby with a scrawled note. Last chance. He photographed it, sent it to Marcus and Tom, and drove to Clara's in his damaged Honda, his knuckles white on the wheel. At her office, Clara handed him a folder. The trust is yours, $12 million in assets, wired to your account by tonight. But Ryan's motion to block it goes to court tomorrow. He's claiming fraud. Jake's eyes narrowed. He's desperate. What's our counter? Clara smirked. We've got his meeting logs and your car's evidence. The FBI's interested. As Jake left, his phone buzzed with a call from Greg Hammond, Lauren's lawyer. Jake, we need to talk, Greg said, his voice shaky. Lauren just learned about the trust. She's furious you didn't disclose it. Jake kept his tone cold. It wasn't active during our marriage. Check the terms. Greg stammered, then hung up. Minutes later, Lauren's name flashed on Jake's screen. He ignored it, but her voicemail was frantic. Jake, how could you hide this? We need to meet. I messed up. He deleted it, his focus on Ryan's threat. That afternoon, Lauren showed up at Austin Heights High, intercepting Jake in a parking lot. Her eyes were red, her voice pleading. Jake, I didn't know about the money. Let's talk, please. We can fix this. Jake stopped, his gaze steady. You left for Ethan's promises. Live with that choice. She grabbed his arm, desperate. Ethan's not what I thought. His businesses are failing. I need you. Jake pulled free. You needed a lifestyle? I'm done. He drove off, leaving her standing alone. Back home, Jake found his mailbox stuffed with an anonymous letter. Drop the trust, or you're done. He called Marcus immediately. It's Ryan. Marcus confirmed. I've got audio of him hiring a thug to intimidate you. Sending it to the FBI now. Jake's heart pounded, but he felt a surge of clarity. He dialed Agent Sarah Chan, who'd been looped in by Tom. We're building a case, she said. Ryan's crossed into federal territory. Conspiracy and threats. Send me everything you have. That evening, Jake met Clara at a secure coffee shop, away from prying eyes. She slid him a tablet showing the trust transfer confirmation. $12 million, now his. You're set, she said, but Ryan's hearing tomorrow could stir things up. Judge Lowe's on the bench, and Ryan's been funding her campaign. Jake nodded, handing her Marcus's evidence. This ends now, he said. Clara's eyes gleamed. With this, we bury him. As Jake drove home, his phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. You were warned. He pulled over, scanning the dark street, and called Marcus. Someone's tailing me, Jake said, spotting a black SUV idling nearby. Marcus's voice was urgent. Get to a public place. I'm tracking the vehicle. Jake sped to a crowded diner, parking under bright lights. The SUV didn't follow, but his nerves were frayed. Inside the diner, Jake called Agent Chan, relaying the tale. We're moving on Ryan tonight, she said. Your evidence is enough for a warrant. Stay safe. Jake ordered a coffee, his hand steady, but his mind racing. Lauren texted again, Jake, I'm sorry. Let's meet. I love you. He blocked her number, her words hollow against the betrayal he'd overheard. The diner's hum grounded him as he waited for news. Late that night, Marcus called. FBI raided Ryan's place. They've got him on recorded threats and conspiracy. He's done. Jake exhaled, relief washing over him. The trust was his, and Ryan's schemes were unraveling. But as he stepped outside, a new text from Clara hit his phone. Judge Lowe's pushing to delay the trust's finalization. Ryan's team is desperate. Meet me at court tomorrow. Jake stared at the Austin skyline, the city's lights a stark contrast to the danger closing in. He was ready to fight. Jake Whitmore arrived at the Austin courthouse, his steps steady despite the weight of the day. Clara Stein waited outside, her briefcase bulging with documents. Ryan's team is scrambling, she said, handing Jake a coffee. His arrest last night for conspiracy and threats has them rattled, but Judge Lowe's still hearing their motion to freeze the trust. Jake nodded, his eyes scanning the crowd for familiar faces. Can she rule against us? Clara's lips tightened. She might try, but our evidence is airtight. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Ryan, out on bail, sat with his lawyers, his glare fixed on Jake. Judge Lowe entered, her expression unreadable, and called the session to order. Ryan's attorney, a slick man named Victor Klein, argued passionately. The Whitmore Trust name clause is outdated and discriminatory, he declared, gesturing toward Ryan. My client has equal claim as a blood relative. Clara stood, her voice cutting through the room. Your Honor, the trust terms are legally binding, upheld in precedent like Henderson versus Morrison. Jake Whitmore meets every condition. Jake watched Judge Lowe's eyes flicker toward Ryan, a hint of bias in her pause. Clara slid a folder across the table, containing Marcus Reed's recordings and photos of Ryan's fixer meetings. We also have evidence of Mr. Whitmore's illegal attempts to intimidate my client, Clara added. The judge's brow furrowed as she reviewed the documents. Ryan's face paled, his lawyers whispering frantically. Judge Lowe banged her gavel. This court will not tolerate coercion. Motion denied. The trust stands. As the ruling sank in, Ryan bolted upright, shouting, This is a sham. That money's mine. Bailiffs restrained him, escorting him out. Jake exhaled, the victory bittersweet but firm. Outside, Clara clapped his shoulder. It's over. The trust is yours. No appeals left. Jake's phone buzzed. Agent Sarah Chan. Ryan's bail was revoked after new evidence surfaced. He's in custody, she said. Jake thanked her, relief settling in. That afternoon, Jake drove to a secure high-rise condo downtown, his new home after the threats. He hired Frank Thompson, a former Marine, as a bodyguard, ensuring safety until Ryan's case concluded. At the condo, Jake opened his laptop, confirming the $12 million transfer in his account. He texted Marcus Reed, "Thank for the evidence. Name your price." Marcus replied, "Just keep teaching kids. That's payment enough." Meanwhile, Lauren's world unraveled. Jake learned through a mutual friend that Ethan Brooks's restaurants were collapsing under debt, his empire a house of cards. Lauren's blog posts, once brimming with luxury, now drew mockery online, her followers posting screenshots of Jake's inheritance news in the Austin Chronicle. Local teacher inherits millions. Desperate, Lauren called Jake again, her voice trembling in a voicemail. "I was wrong, Jake. Ethan lied about everything. Can we meet?" Jake deleted it, his resolve unshaken. At school the next day, Jake mentored Maria through a history project, her enthusiasm a reminder of why he stayed grounded. During lunch, Sarah, the counselor, slid into a chair beside him. "Heard about the trust," she said, grinning. "Lauren's losing it on social media." Jake shrugged. "She made her choice." Sarah leaned closer. "You're handling this like a pro. What's next?" Jake's eyes gleamed. "Giving back. I'm starting a foundation for schools." That evening, Lauren showed up at Jake's old house, unaware he'd moved. A neighbor texted Jake, "Your ex is banging on your door," crying. Jake ignored it, focusing on a call with Clara about the Whitmore Foundation. "I want to fund education programs," he told her. "Start with $2 million. Clara whistled. "You're the real deal, Jake." He hung up, then blocked Lauren's number after another pleading text. "I love you, not the money. Please." The next morning, Jake found an email from the Austin Chronicle requesting an interview about his inheritance. He agreed, but only to highlight his foundation's mission. At school, Tom Alvarez pulled him aside. FBI's got Ryan dead to rights. Conspiracy, intimidation, even bribery attempts with Judge Lowe. He's looking at years. Jake nodded, grateful for the justice system's swift response. As Jake left school, his phone buzzed with a news alert. Restaurateur Ethan Brooks files for bankruptcy. Lauren's latest Instagram post was a tearful apology, claiming she'd been misled. Comments flooded in, "Ruthless. You left a millionaire for a fraud?" Jake scrolled past, feeling no satisfaction, only closure. He drove to his condo, Frank trailing in a separate car, and stood at the window, the Austin skyline glittering below. The city didn't know the half of his story, but they'd soon see his impact. Jake Whitmore stood in the grand ballroom of Austin's Driscoll Hotel, the hum of conversation filling the air as he hosted the inaugural gala for the Whitmore Foundation. The event, aimed at funding education programs across Texas, had already raised $5 million, with Jake personally donating another $1 million. He shook hands with the mayor, who praised his vision, and nodded to tech moguls mingling nearby. His student, Maria, now a scholarship recipient, beamed as she spoke to a local news crew about Jake's mentorship. Clara Stein approached, holding a glass of sparkling water. "You've outdone yourself," she said, gesturing to the packed room. "The foundation's off to a strong start." Jake smiled, his focus on a group of teachers receiving grant checks. "It's for them," he replied. "Kids deserve better than budget cuts." Clara's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it. Ryan's trial wrapped. Guilty on all counts, conspiracy, intimidation. He's facing 7 years. Jake nodded, the news sealing a chapter he was ready to close. Across town, Lauren grappled with the fallout of her choices. Ethan Brooks's bankruptcy had left her stranded, her blog now a ghost town mocked by former fans. She'd moved back to her mother's cramped apartment, her social media flooded with screenshots of Jake's gala from the Austin American-Statesman. Teacher-turned-philanthropist shakes up Texas. Desperate, she sent Jake an email, her words raw. "I threw away our life for nothing. Can we talk?" Jake read it, then archived it without replying, his heart unmoved. At Austin Heights High, Jake taught 3 days a week, his passion for history undimmed. He guided Maria and her classmates through a project on civil rights, their debates lively and sharp. During a break, Sarah, the counselor, joined him in the faculty lounge. "The gala's all anyone talks about," she said, tossing him a newspaper with his photo. "You're a local hero." Jake shrugged, handing her a foundation flyer. "It's not about me. Want to help pick our next grant recipients?" Sarah grinned. "Count me in." That afternoon, Jake met with Clara at a downtown cafe to review the foundation's next steps. "We're funding 10 schools this quarter," she said, sliding him a budget. "Your call on the priorities." Jake tapped the sheet. Focus on underserved districts. Tech labs, books, teacher training. As they spoke, a text from Tom Alvarez, the cop parent, popped up. Ryan's team tried appealing. Shot down. You're clear. Jake pocketed his phone. The weight of threats finally gone. Later, Jake drove to his new home on Lake Travis, a modern house with wide windows overlooking the water. He'd chosen it for its quiet, not its price tag, valuing peace over flash. Frank Thompson, his bodyguard, had been let go after Ryan's conviction, but Jake sent him a bonus for his vigilance. At the house, he opened his laptop, drafting a proposal to expand the foundation's reach to rural Texas schools, his fingers flying with purpose. Lauren made one last attempt, showing up at Austin Heights High during Jake's office hours. She stood in his classroom doorway, her posture defeated. "Jake, I know I hurt you," she said, her voice low. "Ethan was a mistake. I see that now." Jake set down his pen, his gaze steady. "You saw a better deal and took it. That's who you are." She flinched, tears welling. "I loved you, not your money." Jake stood unmoved. "You loved a fantasy. I built something real." She left, her footsteps echoing in the empty hall. The next day, the Austin Chronicle published a feature on the Whitmore Foundation, detailing Jake's $3 million in grants. Social media buzzed, with comments praising his generosity and jabbing at Lauren's misstep. She left a millionaire who's changing lives. Jake ignored the noise, focusing on a call with a superintendent about a new STEM program. His phone stayed quiet. No more pleas from Lauren, no threats from Ryan. That evening, Jake walked along Lake Travis, the water calm under a fading sunset. He thought of his uncle Samuel, whose trust had sparked this journey. Samuel's belief in him, tied to the Whitmore name, had been a quiet vote of confidence Jake now honored. He texted Maria, checking on her project, and her reply, "Thanks, Mr. Whitmore. You're the best," lit up his screen. He smiled, knowing his wealth meant nothing without purpose. Back home, Jake opened a letter from a rural school thanking him for a new library. He pinned it to a board, alongside others from grateful principals. The Austin skyline glowed in the distance, a city unaware of the battles he'd fought, but touched by his work. Lauren, Ryan, and Ethan were footnotes now, their greed exposed by their own actions. Jake poured a glass of iced tea, sat back, and planned his next grant, his heart steady with the clarity of a man who'd found his path.